Hi everybody, and it's Saltash Math Tutor, and we today are going to be talking about simple interest, which of course is the most interesting subject in the whole wide world. Well, maybe it's not quite, but it's something that you need to know for foundation and for higher. And we are not going to be talking about compound. This is just the simple interest tutorial. What do we need to know? Well, quite often the question will be asking you how much you gain. Either that's as a total amount or that is how much interest you gain. But in all of these things, one of the things that they will be, or some of the things that they will be telling you will be the time, how much time your investment will be made. So it's usually 3 or 4 or 5 years. They'll tell you over 1 year period how much the interest will be, and they'll also tell you the starting amount of money that you will have. So the best way to illustrate this is with an example. So here we've got Paul invests £4,000. So there's the amount you're being told how much that is at 5%. So there's the percentage rate. Importantly, it's telling you it's simple interest and not compound. Remember, I'll be covering that in a different video, and it tells you how much the investment is over 3 years. Now, you may find that this is in a calculator or a non-calculator paper. Here is a picture of a calculator, oddly enough, and what I've highlighted is that you've got a percentage button here, and in this particular picture of a calculator, you are required to use the shift button to find it, and that's quite important that you find out with your particular calculator precisely how to go through that function process to get the right answer that you want. So here we go. Paul invests £4,000 at 5% simple interest for 3 years. So this is what we do. If we're going to use our calculator, we know that at the end of the first year, I'll have made 5% interest. Now you can either work out using your calculator, and however you put it in, 5% of £4,000, which means that you will have calculated the interest, just the interest, and that would equate to £200. Or you could say, well, I'm going to get all of my interest, or all of my original sum of £4,000 back, plus I'm going to get 5% return, which means that you're working out the whole amount, and that would be £4,200, and that's the calculator way of doing things. If you're going to be doing the non-calculator way of doing this, then we need to start doing that small table. So we have £4,000. Well, how much of a percentage of the amount does that equal? Well, it's 100%. So what's 10%? How do I get from 100 to 10? Well, I divide by 10. And if I divide 4,000 by 10, I get £400. I could even work out what 1% is, because that would be dividing 10 by 10 to get 1%, so I divide 400 by 10, so I would end up with £40. I could even find out what 5% is, because to get from 10 to 5%, I divide by 2. So therefore I divide this by 2 as well, and I end up with 400 divided by 2 is £200. Now you don't need to do all of these, because actually we found out what we wanted, which was the 5%, and that's what we were asked in the question up here. So my calculation simply now is, I've got at the end of the first year, I've got £4,000 plus my 5% interest, and 5% interest is this amount here, which is £200. So that is £4,200. So that's the end of the first year. So now I can complete the rest of the calculation, because I have been asked for amounts over 3 years. I know at the first year my interest is £200. If I add that on to the original amount of 4,000, I end up with £4,200. That will make sense so far, doesn't it? In the second year, and this is where it's simple interest, I earn exactly the same amount of interest. It does not take into account this 4,200. It is purely based on that first year's interest. So now I now add the 200 onto the 4,200, and I have £4,400. And in the next year, how much interest do I use? Earn rather. Again, it's simple interest. It's exactly the same as the first year. So my running total, if you like, where am I at now? Means that I now have £4,600. And the only thing that you need to be careful about is if they ask you, is it the total amount? And if it was the total amount, we'd have £4,600. And if it's the total interest, the interest we earned is £600 only. So it's just within the wording. Okay, that's it, everybody. This has been the Saltash Maths Tutor. I hope that has helped. I will put some questions up and answer them from the GCSE questions later, but hopefully that will do you and get you on track. See you later.